Alright, all you trash kickers, this is TBrown0065. Welcome back to another discussion episode here. This time I'm going to be covering modern video games. Let me explain why I'm covering this topic. Well, because there's been a lot of modern video games out there that consumers had complaints about, okay? Examples would be Fallout 76 and Battlefield 2042. Okay, now these are just some examples. Okay, I'm sure there's many other games out there that had issues. And what happens with the video games is that it's like they're either, super buggy, like to a point where they're just unplayable, or the maps in the video game are terrible. Okay. Now, let me give you a scenario. Let's say your coordinator gives you a huge project to work on, where that project is you have to write a piece of software, okay? And what happens is that, like, you're only given 2 days to work on it. This is just an as-if example, okay? You're only given 2 days to work on that software that you're assigned to do. And what happens is that you're going to end up rushing through that project, and because of that, well, guess what? It's going to end up being low quality, okay? Because you're not given enough time to iron out any potential flaws in your software, and those flaws can place a hinder on its usability. And what happens is when that software is released, well, guess what? People are going to have complaints about it, okay? The software that they downloaded or purchased or whatever, it's practically useless. It doesn't provide any functionality whatsoever, okay? And it would start to get negative reviews, okay? With video games, it's the same principle, okay? Developers, they're responsible for, writing code for the video games, designing graphics, testing a game for any potential bugs. And then what happens is once everything is ironed out, they send the game to the publisher and then have the publisher release the game. Now, here's the problem with the publishers nowadays, is that they do not give developers enough time to work on the video games. And what happens is if they're only given a short period of time to work on the video games, well, guess what? That means they're only going to have a short period of time to iron out any bugs that could ruin its playability. And once the game is released, well, guess what? People are going to have complaints about it. And, and all that money that they spent on that video game, it turned out to be a waste. Okay, these consumers have been ripped off. And another thing, too, is that these publishers, they make developers work like an insane amount of hours, like 18 hours a day, just so they can get the product out as quickly as possible. And don't you realize that, that's detrimental to the developer's health? You realize it, don't you? Okay, they have to drive about 30 minutes to an hour from work for each trip. Okay, so that would be like 1 to 2 hours of driving each day, and they're not given enough sleep to work on a project. And what happens is that their performance ends up suffering because they didn't get enough sleep. They're exhausted. They can't function. Okay, and yeah, that's contributing to a lot of problems. Okay, thing is that when you rush through a project, what happens is it's going to be low quality. When you take your time on a project, then it's going to be high quality, okay? It's like taking a test, okay? What happens if you rush through a test? Okay, if you rush through a test, well, guess what? You're going to get a bad grade on it. If, on the other hand, if you took your time while answering the questions, then you'll most likely, so long as you studied for the test, of course, you'll get a good grade on the test. Okay, when it comes to projects, it's the same principle. Okay, any work or you rush through, whether it would be an exam or a project, whatever the case may be, when you rush through that piece of work, well, guess what? It's going to be low quality. Okay, you're not going to have enough time to, iron out any potential flaws, and then, and what do you think is going to happen then? Okay, so to the publishers out there, my advice to you is give more developers more time to work on the video game that they're assigned to work on. Okay, give your developers more time. It's that simple. Okay, and yeah, even if the game is going to be delayed, I'd rather see a game be delayed and have it be high quality than to see a game released early and find out that the game is extremely bugged out. Okay, because when the game is bugged out, the consumers are going to have complaints and they wasted their money on that game. And especially if you do it multiple times, you want to know what's going to happen is that the consumers are just not going to buy your products anymore. And then what happens after that is your company's going to go out of business. Okay, I mean, I understand you want to keep your company profitable. I'm all for that. But don't just focus on the money. Focus on your consumers and your products. Okay, those ones should be prioritized over profit. Okay, because when you release low quality products, consumers are not going to buy your products. And what happens is you're not going to make any more profits. And then when that happens, then you go out of business. And that's the stuff you do not want to see happen. You want to keep your loyal consumers so that way you can keep your company profitable. Okay? So that's something I want to touch base with you on. So anyways, this is TBrown0065 signing out, and I hope that all of you have a good one. And don't rush through your projects, please, because that just ruins the quality.